I never imagined I'd share this story, but here I am. My name's Tanner, and I'm 27 years old. I live just outside Charlotte, North Carolina, working as a car technician at a local dealership. It's not a flashy job, but it keeps the bills paid, and I'm skilled at it. I still share a home with my mom, Linda. It's not as odd as it might seem. After my dad passed away, I moved back to support her, and it just made sense. We get along well, even if she occasionally treats me like I'm still in high school. One Saturday morning, I was in the kitchen brewing coffee when Mum walked in, looking a bit frazzled. She placed her phone on the counter and let out a sigh. "Hannah, can you do me a favor?" she asked. "Depends," I answered, sipping my coffee. She shot me a look. "It's not a big deal. My friend Delaney has a broken kitchen faucet. She's been trying to get a plumber, but no one's available today. And she's freaking out. I told her you're handy." I raised an eyebrow. "Your friend Delaney?" "Yes," she nodded. "You haven't met her. We work together. She's lovely but going through a lot. Please." I sighed but gave a small smile. "Fine. I'll go over after breakfast." I didn't think much of it. Just another errand. I grabbed my compact toolkit and drove over around mid-morning. Her house was about a 15-minute drive. Pulling into the driveway, I noticed how well kept the place was. Tidy lawn, spacious porch, vibrant flowers lining the walkway. I walked up and rang the doorbell. When the door opened, I paused for a split second. Standing there was a strikingly elegant woman, probably in her late 30s or early 40s, with dark red hair cascading just past her shoulders, gentle green eyes, and a casual yet refined blouse paired with jeans. "You must be Tanner," she said with a warm smile. "I'm Delaney." I cleared my throat. "Yeah, hi. My mom sent me." "Come in. I really appreciate you coming on short notice." Her home was inviting, filled with plants, family photos, and books, exuding a serene vibe that matched her presence. She led me to the kitchen, where the faucet dripped steadily. I knelt down and got to work, tightening pipes and replacing a washer. We chatted lightly as I worked. I learned she'd been divorced twice, and her daughter was studying abroad in France. Delaney was self-assured, charismatic, and had a rare charm that made you want to keep listening. About 30 minutes later, I finished. "That should do it," I said, standing and wiping my hands. "You're a lifesaver," she smiled. "Let me at least get you some water or coffee?" "Water's fine, thanks," I replied. She walked to the fridge, filled a glass, and handed it to me. As I reached for it, my elbow accidentally nudged hers. The glass tipped, and half the cold water splashed onto her blouse. I froze. "Oh God, I'm so sorry." She stepped back, glanced at her soaked blouse, then slowly looked up at me. A playful smile curved her lips. "Well," she said lightly, "you definitely got my attention." I blinked, unsure whether to apologize again or laugh. She laughed first, tucking a damp strand of hair behind her ear. "Don't worry about it. I needed to do laundry anyway." Still mortified, I offered to grab paper towels, but she waved me off. "Relax, it's nothing. Come sit for a minute." We sat at the small kitchen table, the tension easing. I sipped my water cautiously, gripping the glass tightly. Delaney leaned back, crossing her legs, and smiled. "You remind me of the guys I used to hang out with when I was younger. A little awkward, very sweet." I chuckled nervously. I don't usually go around ruining people's shirts. "Lucky for you, I'm not mad," she teased. We talked for a while about nothing in particular. My job, her garden, the weather. It felt effortless, surprisingly comfortable. Eventually, I glanced at the time. I should probably head out. Mum will think I got lost. Delaney stood and walked me to the door. Thank you again. I owe you one. I smiled. Just don't recommend me to any more friends with plumbing issues. She laughed softly as I stepped outside. No promises. As I got into my car and started the engine, I glanced back at her standing in the doorway. Something told me this wouldn't be the last time I saw Delaney. I drove off, replaying the day in my mind, unaware of how right I was. Days passed, but Delaney lingered in my thoughts. It wasn't just her appearance, it was her energy, her warmth, the way she turned an awkward moment into something light and amusing. I told myself it was a one-off, a random chore. I'd fixed her faucet, we'd had a clumsy moment, and that was it. But her smile stuck with me. Then, on Friday evening, I was lounging in my bedroom, aimlessly scrolling on my phone, when Mum called from downstairs. Tanner, Delaney's on the phone. She wants to talk to you. My stomach flipped. I walked downstairs, trying to seem nonchalant, and took the phone. Hey, Tanner, came her familiar soft voice. I know this is out of the blue, but are you free tonight? I paused. No plans. Good, she laughed. I've had the longest week. I was wondering if you'd keep me company for a bit. Nothing fancy. Just a night like I used to have back in the day. No schedule, no expectations. Just fun. What do you say? I hesitated briefly, unsure what just fun meant. But I heard myself say, yeah, I'm in. She gave me her address again and told me to come by in an hour. The whole drive, I told myself not to overthink it. It was just another favor. When Delaney opened the door, she wore simple jeans, a soft black sweater and sneakers. Yet she looked effortlessly stunning. Ready for a little adventure? She asked, her eyes sparkling with that playful glint. I smiled nervously. I think so. We hopped into her car, a well-maintained older convertible, and she pulled out of the driveway like she was breaking free. Where are we going? I asked. Nowhere and everywhere, she replied, laughing as the wind caught her hair. With the top down, cool night air rushed past, and early 2000s music blared from the speakers. She sang along, off-key, laughing at herself. I couldn't help but laugh too. Our first stop was a small hole-in-the-wall diner just outside town. We ordered hot dogs and sat at a plastic table under a flickering neon sign. She bit into her hot dog and smiled. This is exactly what I needed. When I was younger, I'd drive around all night with friends, stopping at places like this, just talking about life. We talked for hours about everything and nothing. I shared how I stumbled into auto repair and sometimes felt trapped in our small town. She opened up about raising her daughter alone after 2 divorces, and the loneliness that hit when her daughter left for college abroad. It wasn't flirty or romantic, just 2 people letting their guards down. Next, we drove to an empty beach parking lot and sat on the hood of her car, gazing at the stars. I used to come here when I was younger, when life felt too heavy, she whispered. The ocean always made me feel small in the best way. I glanced at her, the moonlight glowing on her face. You're not like the guys I used to hang out with, she said softly. Good or bad? I joked. She smiled. Good. You listen. Most people just wait for their turn to talk. We sat in silence, watching the waves crash in the distance. As the wind picked up, we climbed back into the car. On the way back, she stopped at a small gas station. "Come on," she grinned. "You can't have a perfect, carefree night without bad gas station snacks." We grabbed chips, candy, and cheap sodas, laughing like kids sneaking out past curfew as the clerk eyed us oddly. Back in the car, with music blasting, we ate junk food. She shared silly stories from her high school days, and I told her about my disastrous first date in 9th grade. We laughed until we nearly cried. When she pulled into her driveway, the sky was just starting to lighten in the east. She turned off the car and sat quietly for a moment. "Thank you," she said softly. "I needed this. I can't remember the last time I just let go and had fun." I smiled. "Me either." We lingered in comfortable silence, neither wanting to end the moment. "I should get you home," she finally said. "Yeah," I nodded, though part of me didn't want to leave. She walked me to my car. There was no awkwardness, no pressure, just two people standing under the early dawn sky after a perfect night. "Same time next week?" I joked as I got in. She laughed softly. "Maybe I'll call you." Driving home, I couldn't stop grinning. It had been years since I'd felt so alive. I had no clue what came next, but for once, I didn't care. I kept thinking about how one spilled glass of water had led to this unexpected perfect night. I didn't expect her to call again. The next morning, nursing bad instant coffee at the kitchen table, I convinced myself it was a one-time thing, a random night of fun between two people from different worlds. Mum bustled around the kitchen, humming and packing her work lunch. I stared at my phone, waiting for nothing. Then, just after lunch, it lit up. "Delaney." I stared before answering. "Hey," I said, trying too hard to sound casual. "I had fun the other night," she said warmly. "I was thinking, want to go for a drive later? No crazy night, I promise. Just some fresh air." I smiled. "Yeah, I'd like that." From that day, things shifted. We didn't have another wild night of gas station snacks or late-night beach talks right away. But we started seeing each other regularly. Sometimes we'd grab coffee at the little cafe on Main Street. Other times she'd invite me over, and we'd sit on her back porch with iced tea, talking for hours as the sun set. Our conversations flowed effortlessly. I'd tell her about work, annoying customers, funny co-workers, or how much I hated replacing brake lines. She'd share stories from her teaching job, the challenge of motivating teens, and how strange it felt having her daughter halfway across the world. Delaney was unlike anyone I'd met. Confident, but not arrogant, warm, but not overly sentimental. She made me feel like the only person in the room. I couldn't deny it anymore. I was falling for her. At first, I brushed it off as a harmless crush, telling myself she was just a cool friend of Mom's. But the more time we spent together, the harder it was to ignore. One evening on her porch, watching fireflies flicker in the yard, she said softly, "You're quiet tonight." "Just thinking," I replied, staring at the dark horizon. "About what?" I hesitated, wanting to say you. Instead, I shrugged. "Life stuff." She smiled knowingly and gently tapped my arm. "You're different from other guys your age." I laughed nervously. "That's not always a compliment." "With you it is," she said simply. That moment lingered between us. No kiss, no grand declaration. Just a quiet understanding that whatever this was, it had long stopped being casual. Our friendship had slipped into something deeper, unspoken. The next few weeks were filled with long walks, movie nights, on her couch with awful microwave popcorn, and quiet moments more intimate than anything physical. One night, we strolled along the river downtown, the streets nearly empty, city lights shimmering on the water like tiny stars. "I'm glad you agreed to help me that day," she said, leaning over the railing. "I'm glad you didn't kick me out after I spilled water on you," I teased. She laughed, shaking her head. "You have no idea how much I needed someone to just be there." I glanced at her, the street lights softening her features. I wanted to tell her how I felt, but I stayed silent. The simplicity of what we had felt too perfect to risk. Then Mom started to notice. One Sunday afternoon, I came home too happy, too distracted. She was at the kitchen table, paying bills, watching me closely as I grabbed a soda from the fridge. "You've been out a lot lately," she said casually. "Yeah," I replied, playing it cool. "Just driving around, blowing off steam." She narrowed her eyes. "With anyone I know?" I froze for a moment, then forced a chuckle. "No one you know, Mom." I hated lying, but I wasn't ready to explain something I didn't fully understand. That night, I texted Delaney. "I think she's getting suspicious." Her reply was instant. "We'll just have to be careful. I'm not ready for her to know yet." Neither was I. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, I knew what we had was becoming something real and terrifying, but I didn't want to stop. Looking back, I don't know why I thought we could keep it hidden. For weeks, Delaney and I walked a tightrope, meeting in quiet places, texting at odd hours, avoiding anywhere in our small town where Mum's friends might see us. But small towns shrink secrets fast. It was a crisp Saturday afternoon when everything unraveled. I'd told Mum I was heading to the hardware store for car parts. Not entirely a lie, as I did stop there. But I also planned to visit Delaney. We were on her front porch, sharing a pizza and laughing about a squirrel that tried to steal a pepperoni slice. Then I heard a car pull into the driveway. Delaney's face tensed as she looked over my shoulder. I turned. It was Mum. Linda stepped out, shopping bags in hand, her eyes locking onto me. Then Delaney, then back to me. Her smile faded. "Tanner," she said, confusion hardening into something colder. "What are you doing here?" I stood quickly, scrambling for an excuse. I was just... Delaney needed help with... With what? Mum cut me off, her tone sharp. "The faucet again." Delaney stood, calm but visibly uneasy. "Linda, I can explain." "No," Mum snapped, turning to me. "You lied to me." "I didn't lie," I protested. "I just didn't tell you." Her glare shifted between us, realization dawning. "How long?" There was no hiding it now. "A couple of months," I admitted quietly. The silence was stifling. Mum shook her head, grappling with the truth. "You're 27, Tanner. She's my friend. She's too old for you." Delaney looked at her hands, clearly hurt. "It wasn't supposed to happen," I said, stepping forward. "We didn't plan this. We just connected." Mum stared, disbelief and anger warring on her face. "This is wrong," she whispered. "You need to end this now." Delaney spoke softly, steadying her voice. "Linda, I understand how this looks. I never meant to hurt you or come between you and your son. But I can't apologize for how I feel. That only worsened things." Mom turned to me, eyes brimming with disappointment. "You're choosing her over your family." "I'm not choosing anyone over you," I said, my voice trembling. But I'm not walking away from something that makes me happy, just because it doesn't fit what you think is right. Then get out, she said coldly. I can't watch this. I won't. Her words hit like a blow. I stood frozen, hoping she'd retract them. But she didn't. Delaney touched my arm gently. Tanner, maybe you should go. Give her space. But I couldn't. I looked at Mom, then Delaney, and back. No, I said. If I leave, I'm going with you. Delaney's eyes widened, as did Mom's, but I meant it. I'm an adult, I continued. I love you, Mom, but I'm not a kid anymore. I have to live my life. Mom said nothing. She turned, got into her car, and drove off without looking back. Delaney stood beside me, her hand still on my arm. I'm sorry, she whispered. I shook my head. Don't be. I knew this would happen eventually. That afternoon was quiet. We sat inside, barely speaking, lost in our thoughts. I kept replaying Mom's disappointment, her shock, her sense of betrayal. But beneath it, I felt relief. No more lies, no more sneaking. That night on Delaney's couch, staring at the ceiling, she sat beside me. You don't have to stay, she said softly. I'll understand if you want to go home and fix things with her. I took her hand. I am home, I replied. We sat in silence, holding hands, knowing the hard part wasn't over. But we had each other. It wasn't perfect, but for the first time in weeks, I could breathe. The next morning, on Delaney's porch, I stared at my phone, debating whether to call Mom. I hadn't slept much. Guilt gnawed at me, but so did the certainty that I'd done what I needed to. Delaney stepped outside with 2 mugs of coffee, handed me one, and sat beside me. You okay? She asked softly. I nodded, though I wasn't sure. I don't know what happens now. We take it day by day, she replied. I've learned you can't rush people. Your mum needs time. I admired her calm, grounded presence. She was right. The fallout wouldn't vanish overnight. But we weren't turning back. Later that day, I packed my things at home. The house was silent. Mum wasn't there. A note on the kitchen counter read, Tanner, I need time. I love you. Be safe. I stood in my childhood home for a long moment, then left for the last time. That evening, I moved into Delaney's with a few bags and a whirlwind of emotions. We didn't say move in. It just happened, natural and unspoken. The first few weeks were odd. We adjusted slowly. I mowed the lawn. She cooked too much for dinner. We'd grocery shop and people stared, though no one said anything outright. Mom sent texts about bills, practical things, but nothing personal. It stung, but I knew pushing wouldn't help. One night, on the couch watching a bad reality show, Delaney leaned her head on my shoulder and sighed contentedly. I never thought my life would look like this, she murmured. Neither did I smiled. We weren't living a dramatic love story. Just work, errands, bills, grocery lists. But between the mundane were moments that made it worthwhile. Sunsets on the porch, cooking together, dancing to old songs in the kitchen. Life settled, becoming ours. About 2 months later, Mum showed up unannounced. The knock on the door tightened my stomach. Delaney squeezed my hand. Go. I opened the door. Mum stood there, arms folded, uncomfortable but resolute. I'm not here to fight, she said immediately. Okay, I replied. She glanced past me, then back. I've been angry, but I've been thinking. You're an adult. I may not like it, but I can't control who you love. I exhaled deeply. I just needed to say that, she added. I miss you. I smiled, emotions hitting hard. I miss you too, Mum. We stood awkwardly before she hugged me. Over time, things improved. She didn't visit often, and it took time for her to feel at ease with Delaney, but she tried. And that meant everything. A year later, I got a promotion at work. Delaney's daughter visited from college, and we connected instantly. Life wasn't perfect, but it felt solid. Ours. One night, under the stars on the porch, Delaney turned to me with that same soft smile from the day we met. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "Not even for a second," I replied. "You?" She shook her head. "Not even a little." I took her hand, our fingers lacing together. I still thought about that spilled glass of water, how something so small and awkward had unraveled into something real and lasting. Not a fling, not a fantasy, but a quiet, imperfect love that fit us perfectly. Under the night sky, I knew with absolute certainty we'd made the right choice. This was my home. She was my home.